You wanted the best? You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Our latest things that makes official. Welcome to 16 years of 2,300 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. The CEO of the billionaires, the White House presidential advisors, the governors, the congressmen, all the wonderful, smart people, Pulitzer Prize winners, the great authors, the great minds, the great entrepreneurs who come with you on the show and share their journeys, their lessons of life, and their stories. And stories, as I always say on the Chris Voss Show, is the fabric of our lives. Because without it, I don't know, without the idiot stories I would have, who would I be? Just some guy on a podcast rambling into the mic like a madman. Well, that pretty much explains 16 years. Today we have an amazing young man on the show with us today. Chaz Woodhull joins us in the show. We're going to be talking about his entrepreneurial journey that started at a very young age of 8 and has gone on from there. Chaz is a private wealth advisor at Gallagher Pool Wealth Management. Investing in his first company at the age of 8, he has a lifelong love of investing. He started working in wealth management as an intern for Gallagher Pool. Later, Chaz started his full-time career as a financial advisor at Northwestern Mutual for a number of years before returning to Gallagher Pool. He is an accredited investment fiduciary and certified exit planning advisor. He's focusing on helping clients manage their goals by building a strategic plan in order to grow, preserve, and transfer wealth. As I always like to say, if you don't have a plan, what's the old saying? If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. If you don't plan to succeed, you plan to fail.
Fail to plan, you plan to fail.
There you go. That's why the whole thing, I didn't plan that, and so it failed. Chaz, but thank you for saving it. He's 29 years old. He's an independent financial advisor. He owns his own practice with over $70 million in assets under management, and he's one of the most successful young money managers in the U.S. Ladies, be sure to check in with him. Chaz, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. How you doing?
I am good as well. I forgot to ask me if you're married. You might be married, so.
I'm not married, but I do have a girlfriend.
There you go. Well, we'll give out your number on the show and see what happens. Anyway, competition's good, as they say, Chaz. I'm just joking around, of course. Give us .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs there?
Yeah, so a great place to learn more about our firm is our website. So Gallagher-pool.com is the website for our financial planning firm.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview of what you guys do over there.
Yeah, great question. So, the whole reason why anyone tries to be good with money, Chris, is so that we can do what we want in our lives. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we help our clients build financial plans that are aligned with their goals to help them get to where they want to be in life. And the process we use to do that is, we sit down, we figure out, hey, is this even a good fit? We're not a good fit for everybody. Not everyone's a good fit for us, but get to know each other, get to know where are you now and where are you trying to go? What are some goals? And then take a look at your finances, run our analysis, and build up a financial plan to get you where you're going.
There you go. So, money's important and all that good stuff, and how it works. So you have an interesting journey of growing up and becoming an entrepreneur. You're very driven and all that good stuff. Tell us about what that was like and how you were raised and how you got the entrepreneurial bug.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the entrepreneurial bug is pretty much in my blood. Both my parents were entrepreneurs. Both my grandfathers were business owners or entrepreneurs. Cousins, siblings, aunts, uncles who were entrepreneurial way back. So it's just kind of the way I was raised, sitting around the dinner table, listening to my mom and dad talk about the business. what's going on? How are sales? How's this person? And, so I just got to grow up around it. And I like to say I have a strong streak of juvenile delinquents, and I do not like being told what to do.
Oh.
So,
First child?
No, third. Yeah, I'm the
Third.
youngest.
There you go.
Yeah. But I just always, I always knew I wanted to do something on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
There you go. And so tell us about your journey. How did you end up in the financial field? Why'd you pick that field to go into? And all that stuff. And how did you arrive to where you are now?
Yeah, that's another good question. So it really started when I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
I was working for my grandma in her garden, and she was paying me 25 cents an hour. I was like, Gigi, what gives? I can't do anything with 25 cents. And so she said, well, if you want to learn how to make money, learn how to invest. And I said, well, what's that? And she sat me down and told me about Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. And there was this guy out in Omaha who sits and reads all day and makes millions and millions of dollars a year.
Oh, wow.
And it blew my mind as a kid. So I started to learn all about it. And then a few months later, after my 8th birthday, I was at the Kentucky Derby, put $3 on a horse. It won. I won $36. Microsoft was trading at 32 at the time. And so I bought my first stock. I bought some Microsoft that day.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing to do, because if you just keep betting on the horses, eventually you'll lose, I think, technically. Isn't that?
Yeah.
Isn't that the rule of, I live in Vegas, so what's the old thing? If you let them gamble long enough, they'll eventually, the house always wins.
Yeah.
So it's good. You put your money towards something wise. Do you think more young people need that sort of influence? When I first started my first entrepreneurial company, 18, there was it wasn't like today where everything's about entrepreneurs and starting your own company, being your own thing. I'd gotten fired from McDonald's for having long hair, and from this guy who hated all my rock concert T-shirts, who was ultra religious. He hated my long satanic hair and my, Van Halen concert T-shirts of, clearly very satanic and devious. But and so I was just trying to make a buck. So I didn't. There was no announcement to me that you have become an entrepreneur. I was just like, I seem to be controlling my destiny a little better.
Yeah.
So do you think more young people need sort of guidance like that and influence to know what entrepreneurism is?
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I was really lucky, and I say this all the time, but I was particularly lucky because I had a grandmother who knew about investing and who taught me about it. I had parents who were entrepreneurs, and they never sat us down and said, "Oh, here's a balance sheet." But just being around them was a lesson in and of itself. And a lot of people don't have that, and they used to teach in many schools across the U.S. in what was called civics class. They used to teach basic financial literacy, how to pay taxes, how to balance a balance sheet. And they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And, in the world, if we want to have as much agency over our lives as possible, if we want to be successful, then we have to know the basic ingredients for finances.
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand how businesses work, how money works. And it's not super complicated. But yeah, that information isn't readily out there, and young people definitely should have more access to it.
Definitely more influence, know what it is, know the benefits of it. I think we're going to see a lot of entrepreneurs growing in the next few years. It seems like with AI, there's a lot of people that are going to be losing jobs and being moved out of stuff. I've been seeing my coder friends kind of starting to freak out in Silicon Valley because they're like, hey, it's going to make us, there's writing code now, so we have some issues.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
definitely.
I'm seeing people on X write complete programs with
Yeah,
AI in the matter of a few hours.
yeah. I could
And
probably pull it off, and I'm an idiot. So
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's unbelievable. These people are, yeah, writing complete programs and having a finished business with a marketing plan, identifying, strengths and weaknesses or pain points in their target audience within a few hours with a finished
mhm.
product ready to go to market. It's unbelievable.
That is, I mean, it's just crazy. And then, of course, there's all sorts of other things going on. I think ChatGPT just put out something, but yeah, a lot of people are going to be out looking for new work, and more and more. I think we're going to become a information coaching society where we share and teach each other, and I guess make money doing that. That or we'll just all spend it on Vegas on the roulette wheel. So now it says here that you're super driven, and I find this very interesting. You ran 7 half marathons last year, climbed Kilimanjaro. This year you're going to be running the Chicago Marathon and climbing Mount Blanc. That's a tall pen to climb. You remember the Mont Blanc pens? Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, the 80s, those were the things to have on Wall Street. You exercise twice a day, 6 days a week, highly focused, highly driven, highly compassionate individual. Tell us about what keeps you driven. How did you arrive at being so driven, and what keeps you driven and motivated?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, I mean, part of it is, just the people that I grew up with. Um, I really admired and still do. Uh, my grandparents, they're all passed away, but I admired them. My parents, family, friends, and I just really looked up to them in a lot of ways. And so I wanted to be the best version of me I could always be. I've always been competitive. I don't know if that's a gene or what, but I've had that competitive bug my whole life. So I've, for the longest time, as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be, really great at whatever I do.
Hmm.
And recently, through, I don't know, just a process of self-discovery, I
Hmm.
realized that the best thing I can do, the best way to channel my competitive spirit is to
Hmm.
be the best version of me that I can be.
There you go.
Uh, and to be the person that I would have looked up to 5 years ago. Uh, and so that's really just a part of who I am.
Hmm.
And it's part of my core values. I did a values assessment. Personal growth is my number 3 top value. So
Hmm.
I'm just always pushing to try to be better um, in every way for
Wow.
myself and for others.
Good for you, man. It's good to be
Yes.
driven and take care of yourself, especially early in life. I wish I'd done more of that when I was 29. Life is long, but it's also really short. It really catches up to you.
Yeah.
And so once you start slacking, you can wake up one day and 10 years have gone by and you're like, I should get to the gym. And you don't want to be that person, trust me,
No.
because I did that. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who make the mistake that they put their health second, and they're like, oh, I'll eat the shitty food and not
Hmm.
exercise and sit at the desk and just work to build this business, and then it takes a toll on your body,
Yeah.
just being an entrepreneur and running a company
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
I mean,
let's get back to go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, think about the story of Brian Johnson, that biohacker is trying to live forever.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, that guy.
yeah, he built up his business and sold it for I don't know how many hundreds of millions, but he sacrificed his relationships and his body and his health
Mhm.
and his mental health and well-being for the sake of his company. Uh, and it ended up being okay. He sold the business and made a ton of money, but
Mhm.
but yeah, I think it's kind of 7 habits of highly successful people. You got to do what's most important first,
Mhm.
and what's most important is taking care of yourself so that you can have the energy to then go out into the world and show up as your best self in your business and in your relationships.
There you go. The yeah, I mean, it affects your state of mind. It affects your mindset. It affects your health. If you feel good, you work good, you do good. If you don't feel good, then you just perform awful. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Gallagher Pool Wealth Management. Getting back to
Chris, you there? Chris?
2, 3.
Yep. I hear you now.
Testing 1, 2, 3. There you go. So you can hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Well, there's always those wonderful lapses in the internet gods. So tell me, let's get back to Gallagher Pool Wealth Management. Tell me about what makes you guys different than your competitors in the marketplace.
Yeah. So I guess first I'll describe kind of the marketplace and financial services in general. I believe that the way most big companies tell people to invest, they do that for two reasons. One, it's easily saleable, and two, they know they're not going to get sued. So, I mean, these companies, the financial services industry exists, to make money. A lot of these BlackRock, Vanguard, these massive companies, they exist to make money. And when they tell people to invest in, uber diversified, buy a slice of every company on planet Earth, that's easily saleable, tells a good story. And two is you can very easily defend yourself in court and saying that you're fulfilling your fiduciary duty to the client. What I also know is that there isn't one of the best investors of all time who invested that way. So those two things are true. What we do is we invest much more in line with how the greatest investors of all time did their business, right? So what we do is we keep a pretty concentrated portfolio of about 20 to 25 companies. And we try to have exposure to every sector of the economy. And we buy the best businesses that we can. So, for example, the S&P 500, 6% of the S&P 500 doesn't make money. Almost 20% of the S&P 500 are companies that have over 100% debt to equity ratio, meaning they're more debt than they are shareholder equity.
Wow.
So we don't want to invest in companies like that. We invest in companies that have great balance sheets, competitive advantages, good revenues. And the other thing that really sets us apart is if you go to pretty much anyone, they're going to say, hey, you need US exposure, you need international exposure. Like I said, you need to buy a slice of every business on earth. Well, we don't think like that. We think like business owners. So, Chris, if you own Coca-Cola, okay, financial services industry is going to tell you, well, Coca-Cola is they'll put it in a box. They'll say it's a large cap domestic company, big company located in the US. When we look at it, we say, yeah, it's a big company and its mailbox is located in Atlanta, but over 2/3 of its revenue comes from outside the US.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Coca-Cola bought almost every non-alcoholic brand in India. And it's a very smart move. And then they're allowing those local India managers to use their knowledge of the economy, local economy, to expand their product base. So if I have a share of Coca-Cola, I know that 2/3 of every bit of revenue comes from outside the United States. That's international exposure. I forget what percentage it is of the S&P 500, but I think it's over 20% of the revenues in the S&P come from outside the United States. Mm-hmm. So we believe that's international exposure because it is. And the financial services industry believes, oh, no, that's not international exposure. You need Novo Nordisk in Denmark to have international exposure. Even though most of Novo Nordisk, who makes Ozempic, sells their products in the United States.
Yeah.
So we just think about things differently, and we approach investing from the mindset really more of business owners.
There you go. You want results. It's hard to, you really have to look at some of these companies that have global, international fingers in all the pies and stuff.
Yeah.
And the true value there. And so now for investors that might be out there listening on LinkedIn or the places that we post this, do they need to be accredited investors to invest with you? What's the minimum sort of investor portfolio profile that you're looking at?
Yeah, that's a great question. So no, they don't need to be accredited investors. Mm-hmm. Typically when we work with people, we're going to work with people who have, over $250,000 of investable assets. That being said, I work with many younger families and younger couples who are starting out, and obviously they're not going to graduate from college with $250,000 in their pocket, but the biggest requirement that we have, Chris, is that the people we work with need to be coachable, and good people who are fun to work with, because life's too short not to work with good people.
Yeah. You definitely have to get along with your clients. You've got to have some clients that respect your work and you respect what they do and stuff. And there's those clients out there that are kind of funky. But do they need to have a minimum amount of investment? Is there a minimum requirement to invest?
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
There's no technical minimum. Like I said, we really try to work with most people above 250, but technically there's no minimum.
There you go. Independent private wealth management firm. So it sounds like maybe you guys take a look at your customer base, your clients, as getting to know them, help them with their future, and hopefully they'll grow with you guys.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's how we run our business, and it's also how our fees are structured. So we charge typically 1% on assets under management, and that's a flat 1%. We typically will pay for all other costs of doing business. But what that means is that as our clients make more money, we make more money. So our incentives are really well aligned. And yeah, when we get to grow with clients and they get to buy their first house or buy an engagement ring or retire, it's really cool to be able to sit down with somebody over Zoom or at their kitchen table and personally congratulate them on retiring and let them know that they're going to be okay.
Yeah, and that's a concern for a lot of people. I think I read that most millennials right now don't have a healthy retirement. Some Gen Zers, or did I say Gen Z or some Gen Xers? And then, of course, Gen Z has to start planning for that sort of stuff in their lives. It's always fun. Plan for your retirement. You're like, I'm 20 and I'm just trying to make a buck. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk to us about that, why the importance of planning for retirement and all that stuff is important. And I don't know. Here's a good question. Is it ever too late to start investing in these things? I know some people that are really probably behind the eight ball with what they've been spending a lot of money on Target and Amazon, evidently. That's their main portfolio.
Yeah. So no, it's never too late. Even if you start the day you retire, trying to squirrel away a few bucks. Retirements typically are 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's never too late. But it's critically important. I say this a lot. There's basically three main ingredients with growing wealth. Okay. There's how much you put away and save, how you invest those savings, and for how long. Okay. So out of those three, by far the most powerful is how long. Time is the only thing that we cannot replicate in any way, shape, or form when it comes to building wealth. And something I use to illustrate this is if you take a 20-year-old and Roth IRA, for those who know Roth IRAs, you can put $7,000 a year currently into Roth IRAs. So let's say you take a 20-year-old and that 20-year-old puts $7,000 a year, okay, until they're 27 and then stops. That person who started at 20 is going to have more money at retirement than the person who started at 28 and put $7,000 a year into that account for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
So getting started early, I mean, the best time, I stress this, the best time to get a hold of your finances and to start investing is 5-10 years ago or yesterday. And the second best time is today. And you really should have some urgency around it.
There you go. Have some urgency around it. Retirement's important. Planning for the future is important. I remember years ago, I was day trading during the .com boom and making a lot of money. And then I go to work and make a lot of money. And my business partner that I'd had for, I think, 10 years or 13 years or 12 years at the time, I asked him what he was doing with all this money we were making. I go, what are you doing with the money? Because I'm investing it over here. You want me to show you what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. And he had bought hundreds of Franklin Mint plates. I don't know if you remember the back of magazines used to have this thing called Franklin Mint. You might be too young for that, being 29. But they used to sell these Franklin Mint plates, and they're like plates. They're like. Have you ever seen one of those presidential plates? They'll sell the merch from the White House. It's one of those, and you can buy a thing to hang. And he'd spent his money on buying hundreds of those because he thought they were definitely going to go up. So he was wrong. I think everyone knows that now. But I was sitting there going, I'm investing in the stock market. I mean, we were making a lot of money at the time. And yeah, that's what he did. And so a lot of people do dumb shit with their money. There was that meme of that lady podcaster, and she's a financial advisor and author, and she says, quit doing dumb shit with your money. So it's important to plan for the future, right?
Yeah.
In an appropriate way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's, there's, in an appropriate way is definitely important because, the decisions when it comes to building wealth, the decisions that you make, good or bad, have compounding effects over time. And so if you make a poor decision, that poor decision is going to compound throughout the rest of your life. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of, if I only didn't sell during, 2001, or if only I didn't sell at the bottom in 2009, so yeah, doing it appropriately is a good caveat there.
And one of the that brings me to one of your blog posts you guys have on your website about how emotion is a bad way to manage your investments. It's a bad way to make most any decision, really. But doing emotion, the stock market's on fire, sell today because the stock's down 5 points or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I suppose unless there's any sort of support behind that for a reason why it's down, sometimes it's just, the hiccup of the day or whatever. The stock market's got heartburn over something. And, sometimes it'll bounce back. I've seen that with owning a mortgage company for 20 years. we'd see our portfolio sometimes dip $400,000 and then it go back up the next week. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, there's no reason to sweat that. But it is 400 grand. So what else have we discussed about your firm that people should know about so they can talk to you guys about potentially investing over there and working with you?
Sure. Well, I think the biggest thing is that whenever we talk with anybody, whenever anyone approaches us, the first conversations, we don't charge for that. I mean, if somebody calls me up and they say, "Hey, I want to, get to know you guys and see if it would be a good fit." A lot of places will say, "Okay, well, if you talk to us, it's this process and it's going to cost you X amount." We just say, "All right, sure, let's hop on a quick call, get to know each other real quick, and just see if it's even a good fit to begin with, just from our personalities." So to get to know us and to see if we might be a good fit for you and to see if you guys might be a good fit for us, it's no commitment, no cost, and then we'll go from there. So that's probably important for people to know.
Yeah, great way to onboard and get to know people better, make sure there's a good fit and all that good stuff. So what's the best way that they can reach out to you, give people your final pitch on the show and your .coms?
Yeah. So best way to reach out to me is probably through email. So you can email me at CHAS, that's Chaz at Gallagher-pool.com, GALLAGHER-pool, like a swimming pool.com. Or you can go to our website at Gallagher-pool.com, spelled the same way. So those are the best ways to reach out to me. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn at Chaz Woodhull.
There you go. Well, it's been fun to have you on, Chaz, and what a journey. What a journey you've been out on the thing. So good job, man. And keep up taking care of yourself, taking care of your health. You'll appreciate it later because, man, if you don't, then there you go. Yeah. So thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks to our audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys